Turbino's victory has proven to be a timely recovery in his hopes to beat his teammate to the championship. Narrowing the gap to 14 points with 3 rounds remaining makes it a much more realistic proposition. Today's event could swing any which way, however. Watkins Glen long straights gives a mighty tow to the following car. We'll see who uses that to their advantage as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen International has been more closely associated with names like Gordon or Earnhardt since the 80s. But before then, it was the stomping grounds for names like Andretti and Lauda. Let's learn a little bit more about it with our track guide. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, DJ, Watkins Glen might not be an oval as they would be at if they had followed the actual Indy Pro schedule, but it's going to behave a little bit like one.
It most certainly is, Joe. The draft is going to be king around here, and it is going to be no more prevalent than in the run from the 90 all the way to the inner loop, that little bus stop chicane. That's going to be our main area for passing. Watch for guys setting everything up, coming out in through there. As always, though, there's going to be a little bit of opportunity for fight back going through the outer loop and into the chute and down even into the toe and the heel of the boot. It's always great to see that sort of back and forth action as it's able to go on. Now, not a lot of overtaking I think will be done really much in other places on the track. It's very tricky to get something done going into the 90, especially with that long draft zone coming up afterwards. But drivers are going to have to be careful no matter what they do, because even though this track may appear very simplistic, sometimes the way the track is cambered and the way it falls away from you, it can catch you off guard, get a little bit of wheel spin if you're not 100% on your game.
That certainly bit me plenty of times, if I'm honest. But let's talk about our sponsors while we have the opportunity, because today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
The PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com for a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. As I mentioned, the Pro Championship is getting interesting because for the first time since the first round, Christoph Urbano beat out David Holland on the track and knocked 4 points off of his lead. Alessandro Di Tullio, unfortunately, did not have a great day, so he's kind of fallen out of favor, but he's not mathematically out of it. He just really has to do a lot of impressive runs and hope for some bad luck for those that he is chasing in the points. Mark McDonald is, well, kind of in the same situation, 58 points back from Holland, but really 3 points behind Mark with Owen Watts. Expect them to have a little bit of a fight to see who can get that fourth spot before the season is out. What about the AM Championship, DJ?
Well, Dave Peterson got back to his podium and championship extending ways last week and was able to open up a 21-point gap to Nick Horvath behind. Behind them, though, it is a very, very tight battle with Brett Barrett only 7 points back and Tyler Scaralli only 4 points back of him, with Hugo Galaz only 5 points back. So while Peterson may be looking just a little bit out of reach for these guys, that battle for P2 is very, very close.
Things have gotten a little bit shuffled around in the teams championship, and Delta Sport U4K is still way up at the top. And look at that, no more of the Delta Sport teams up there. Britannia iSports is the next one down, but at this point, it's just about done bar the shouting, if we're honest. That could still change, but it's looking unlikely. NinjaTrader Esports and Viking Hot Rod Racing giving us some great action there to decide third as Andy's Racing sneaks their way into the top 5. What about today's race details, DJ? Why don't you go through that?
Well, we are in the 8th of 10 rounds, so it is no surprise that we are having all of those championship conversations, Joe. It's a 27-lap race out here today, and drivers are able to run in an open setup, which means they can tweak and tune their cars, whatever's going to fit their advantage. But no matter what they do, they will have to take a pit stop, so expect everybody to come through pit lane at least once. In terms of penalty points, you do get a drive-through at 11x and disqualified at 20. It's very easy to run a little bit off wide here at Watkins Glen, so watch out for that. But you also do get some bonus points. If you're doing well, you get a bonus point for pole, fastest lap, or 3 incidents or less.
David Holland has control of that pole bonus right now. It is by about 3.5 tenths over Greg Seitz, but there is still about half of the qualifying left to go, so I expect this to change around at least once during this session. Holland giving a little bit of a tow, it seems, to Connor Wagner, the 51, coming down through the inner loop, seeing if he could go quicker than his 4th place, as he's only got to make up 7 hundredths to get up to Owen Watts in 3rd. We're right on board with Holland right now, and I can report that Joey Haynes, who is quickest for the AM class in the practice session, is also quickest in the qualifying session, in 11th right now.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. We watch here with Dave Holland. Little bit of counter steering going through that long toe corner of the boot. Dave looks like he's running a good run. Greg Seitz, though, behind him, only a couple of tenths back, so Greg's certainly looking to be able to come back into this series strong. And what Dave is doing right here, I think this is going to be one of the most crucial things for this qualifying session. He's got, big wiggle. Oh, even bigger wiggle there from his teammate in front. That's going to be very crucial, though, because he wants to get a draft coming out of the 90.
Now let's watch to see if he sticks with Wagner up through the backstretch here. He'll look a little far back. You can see it seems like a great distance, but boy, they get a lot of speed coming up that hill. So keep watching it here. This is the critical corner exit down through the 90. Naturally, Wagner did not set a good time that time, and neither did David Holland. And it is a pretty decent exit for the 18. And watch that car just get bigger on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. And rest assured, even though they both ran very, very wide there at the 90, that is totally allowed. There is plenty of runoff there. The only way you can really get one of those incident limits is by cutting the corner. But there, Wagner gets out of the way. That's exactly what I expected him to do. Allowed for Holland to pick up the draft, and now Wagner will stay behind for the rest of this lap.
So the teammates definitely working together quite a bit here. We've got a few trains out there that I've been kind of seeing. Ethan Lampy, who's currently in 5th, is in one of those. He's been pulled along by McDonald and Watts. Watts is up in third, so he's higher up, but McDonald's probably hoping that the speed of those around him is going to help him climb positions. Oh no, and he's going to come together with McDonald's. So neither of them will get a quick lap.
Yeah, that's not a great way to get a good lap there. Contact normally ill-advised in these Indy Pro 2000 cars. Both of those drivers have to take their way back to the pits. But there is Owen Watts, who was able to continue on. Owen setting his fastest lap on that last time out with a 41.802.
4 thousandths quicker for Greg Seitz, so he managed a quicker lap, but he doesn't go any higher than his third place position as Owen Watts comes along the back stretch. We're going to also take a look at the man who won last round. Not sure why Herbino is all the way down in 24th, only a 43.4, which puts him about 2 seconds off of the pole. Let's see if this is better. Yeah, that looks a lot better. 41.8. That will put him on the outside of row 2.
And here is one of the AM drivers that we've been following coming across the line. Looks like that's not going to be a good lap for Ethan. Probably got a little bit of an off track somewhere out there, but he'll try to line up for another one. But here is Julio Palacio now as he makes his way out of those final corners.
Down in 14th. Expecting that 194 to climb at least a little bit here. He'll get a couple more laps if he wants them. 42.3, that's a personal best. That'll get him into 12th. He's still got room for improvement as we now look at Munoz down in 32nd. We're missing about 5 cars that need to qualify. In the meantime, Broomhead, 42.8, that will put him into 17th.
And here comes Greg Seitz. Let's see what the Rust Racing driver can do. Ooh, it's going to be a slow lap for Greg, so not setting a good one there, unfortunately for him. But here comes Aaron Roofs, another one of those AM drivers, as he makes his way out of that final corner.
I will say, though, behind Seitz was Owen Watts, and he improved to second position with that last lap. Aaron Roofs down in 23rd, moves to 22nd with that 43 flat.
There you see Raymond Day also unable to improve. He's currently sat in 9th. Here is currently your highest placed AM driver. This is Joey Haynes in 14th. He's got to get a little bit of an advantage here, would think, and he's not going to be able to because Caven Norris is really breathing down his neck. He is currently qualified in 15th.
But Norris is not out on track, and unless he takes off within the next 20 seconds, he's not going to be able to set another flyer, because he won't have enough time just to do the warm-up lap. This is Olsen, one of our drivers towards the farther back of the field. Looks like as he comes across, he's not going to be able to go quicker than that 44.2, although he was quite close.
Yeah, it looks like Donald's going to call it a day with that. Here comes David Hebert coming to the line now, currently all the way back in 35th place. Hebert's going to be wanting to do a little bit better, but I think that was an out lap or something for him. Here comes Takeshi Kita. That's a fast lap for Takeshi. That's a 43.2.
Up to 24th for him. Greg Seitz still looking for that pole position. He comes off of the final corner, down towards the timing line, has to make up 3.5 tenths still, and that was not a faster lap, so he'll get one last attempt at it. We're now catching up with Horvath in 25th. He's got a bit of a tow here. That won't do enough to improve it for him. Who else do we have coming close to the line? Hugo Glaz from a little farther down in the field in 28th. He's pulling along Frank Nguyen, who sits in 12th. Let's see what Glaz does. 43.2. That is going to put him up into 24th, and Nguyen does not improve.
No, he does not, but here comes Byron Daly. There goes Byron Daly. He's going to decide to pull down into the pits, so no more laps for him. Here comes Adam Wright, though, currently 21st. He's got to try to improve on a 43 dead to do better than 21st as of right now.
He does that by about 2 tenths, so 42.8. That'll get him into 19th. Merriere is one of the few that have yet to qualify. We're down to 3 drivers that have yet to set a time. Accord and Doherty are not out on the track, so I'm not sure if we'll actually see them manage to qualify. And in fact, will he get across the line to start another one? Just barely. And Sebastian with a 51.7 is going to have to really try and push, because he's actually, that might have been an outlap, it looks like, as that was nearly 10 seconds off the pace. Kita now taking the checkered flag from 25th. He's not going to get anything more out of it. And then it looks like a bear doesn't either. What about Greg Seitz? This time he's got a friend. It's Gonzalo Munoz. Will this be enough down to the line? A 41.7, and that will get him onto the front row ahead of Watts.
Oh, there you go. Duhamel decides to call it a day a little bit before he crosses the starting line. We're going to focus back here on Frank Nguyen, trying to improve on that 42.3.
He comes down and gets ready to complete his final flying lap. The 97 is going to have enough to do a 42 flat. That will put him into 11th, just outside of the top 10. Herbino up to 4th earlier on, and he goes quicker. That'll displace Greg Seitz on the front row. Last time's winner is going to try to get himself back-to-back victories.
That's a good run for Herbino, but here comes Adam right now trying to improve on that 42.8. He's going to do better with a 42.6 right there, so that'll move Adam up to 15th.
I think the last one able to complete a lap is coming to the line now. Marrier in the 25. Oh, well, he's not going to do it that way. I think he touched the wall. That should, unfortunately, discount his lap, and it did. So that is a shame, as he was looking like he was certainly hustling it. We're going to wait for the last few seconds to go away here on our qualifying session, then we'll get through our starting order. DJ, I think this is going to be interesting with Herbino right up with his teammate. I mean, I have to imagine those two probably going to try and work together to break the slipstream to everybody behind them.
I would imagine so, yes. I could definitely see a little bit of double wide running as they make the way out of the S's, just to try to block up Greg Seitz. Seitz is going to be in a pretty good position, though. It has to be said, with his ability now to be able to sit back and just take advantage of that draft starting in 3rd. So I think this opening lap is going to be very, very fascinating to watch.
Bad news for fans of Tutulio. He is not here today, so our 3rd place in the points will not be able to take a score. We'll have to get his 11 points from last time. As we now look at our qualifying order at the pole, as we mentioned, David Holland racking up more valuable points with Christoph Herbino starting in 2nd. It'll be Greg Seitz starting from P3 and Owen Watts in 4th. Byron Daly, that might be one of the best qualifying we've seen from him, in P5. Connor Wagner starts 6th. Ethan Lampy in P7. To his outside, it'll be David Fishman with Alex Fournier in 9th and Raymond Day rounding out the top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Frank Nguyen, followed by Julio Palacio, and Joey Haynes continues his good run in that AM class to take 13th and the top driver in AM. Behind Joey is going to be Owen McLaughlin in 14th, followed by Adam Wright, and your 2nd place AM driver, Caven Norris, in 16th. Sean Duhamel will line up to the inside of row 9, followed by Michael Broomhead and Dave Peterson in 19th, and Nicholas Colander in 20th.
Mark McDonald, slightly out of position, didn't have the best of qualifying. He'll be 21st with Aaron Roos in 22nd. And it's Ethan Oring starting P23. Hugo Galaz will be starting from the 24th position. Quarter century goes to Takeshi Kita. Nick Horvath, 26 for him with Tyler Gore in 27th. You've got Neil Alexander, good enough for 28th. 29th goes to Andy Spicer, and then Matthew Gunderson will start 30th.
In 31st, it's going to be Gonzalo Munoz, followed by Tyler Scarali, with Donald Olson and Guillaume Hard in 34th. Daniel Barnett will be lining up to the inside of row 18, followed by David Hebert, with Sebastian Marrier in 37th and Lucio Vargas in 38th. And to round out your top 40, it will be Brett Accord and James Doherty.
Well, they've set this race up to be in virtual April. And as such, spring in New England is going to give us pretty good temperatures. Look at that, 84 Fahrenheit. I'm being yelled at by my director for not getting the region right now.
It is indeed upstate New York, and I know there are going to be some people that are very angry about that, so we apologize for it. But yeah, 84 degrees track temperature. That's right in that sort of Goldilocks zone for these drivers. They're going to really like that. You're still going to have to be a little bit careful going into that first corner. It is a little bit faster than you would expect. So they're going to have to be very, very careful to not go a little bit too hard into that. But I do imagine by the time that they get down into the inner loop, into that bus stop chicane, that tires will be up to good and we'll be able to go racing at full.
There's a lot of cars out there, so they'll have to certainly be heads up. Now, what's interesting is they also need to be careful about the lap traffic and the blue flags. That was a big point of discussion last round. Thankfully, it was actually pretty civil discussion. Obviously, there were a few people that were maybe slightly irked, DJ, after the last race, but it seemed like all around everybody had some constructive things to say to one another to help. With this being a track with a lot of long straightaways, do you see it being a little bit less of a problem?
Yeah, I certainly do, Joe. The long straightaways help, and also the fact that it's a relatively wide track, really with the exception of that inner loop. Most of the corners you can go too wide through pretty easily, and it's just sort of a matter of carrying momentum or taking the shortest way through the corner. So I don't anticipate blue flags being all that big of a problem, but it is racing, and well, it wouldn't be a race if somebody didn't have something to say about blue flags.
Of course, especially in open wheelers, as we are now into that boot section, the quote-unquote new part of the track, if you will, built back in the 70s, but is not used as much for fans of NASCAR. Did anything ever come of them deciding to use potentially the boot? I remember I heard it kind of floated for a brief while, but I don't remember hearing anything recent.
I don't believe that they did. I know they went back to using the full version of Sonoma, but I don't think that they've used the boot as of recent here at Watkins Glen.
I'd love to see that someday. It would be an interesting challenge, no doubt, for stock cars, especially up some of those steep hills. Speaking of which, up the hill and into turn 9, back onto the Cup course, now onto the main circuit here, and Dave Holland is going to have control of the field in just a moment. 2 more turns for the pace car to release him, and then we start round 8 for 27 laps here at Watkins Glen. Into that final turn. Got to watch out for that when pit stops happen as well, as that is a tricky entry. Pace car is in. Holland's waiting, checking them up, and now he is off. Green flag is out. 3 wide for second place immediately, and getting pinched in the middle. Herbino, unfortunately, has Greg Seitz trying to give him as little room as possible. Both of them breaking deep into the corner, but it looks like Herbino's going to go wide. Not only is he going to lose out to Seitz, but Watts as well in the back. I see some cars shuffling around. We may have had an incident. It looks like it might be McLaughlin.
Yeah, but Greg Seitz, they're not waiting around at all for that. But here comes the first effect of that draft, Joe. Herbino already pulling out to the outside, trying to get something to do there. But they're going to stay civil going into the inner loop as they cross over the line. It's going to be Holland, Seitz, Herbino, and Watts in that top 4.
And Ethan Lampy was the one that you saw cutting the course on the first lap. He is going to get an almighty penalty for that one. So expect him to suddenly fall way towards the back of this field as the front few lead the way, and it looks like it is basically 6 of them now coming into the toe of the boot. It's Holland, Seitz, Herbino, Watts, Wagner, and Daly.
Yeah, absolutely no breathing room between any of these competitors. It's a really, really impressive run. And we said again, Byron Daly doing a great job on that qualifying to put himself up in the position. I got to say, he's going to be happy with this. Oh, that's a big, it's Palacio Fishman to win. Just going 2 by 2 by 2 there through the heel.
Wow, this is an absolute mess. And as they try to get back onto the main course, I can't believe that they've managed that. Looks like McDonald is going to come out ahead of those as we once again look at our leaders. It was a poor exit onto the main straight by Herbino. Watts going to try and look to the inside down to the 90. Does he really want it here? Not really. Oh, almost contact, though, with Herbino. He got inches away from that rear wheel.
Yeah, but I think Watts is going to have the next voice here. He's going to really get a good draft, as is Greg Seitz, may even be able to get enough of a pull. But we're going to stay on board with Watts. You see him moving around a lot, and especially Herbino just trying to break that draft. Owen here, I think, getting past there. That's Wagner coming up his side.
Had a bit of an incident between Colander and a couple other cars, and I believe Mark McDonald had some sort of spin. As we continue to watch the top, wow, they are really pushing for this lead early on, as Holland ahead of Seitz, ahead of Herbino, with Wagner, Watts, and Daly still right behind them, already splitting to about 2 seconds down to Raymond Day behind them. So a torrid pace for the front septet.
I'm really surprised just how much of a distance they're able to pull away from Raymond Day here, but everybody's staying relatively civil. Gotta say, Christoph Herbino looking very, very aggressive there, coming through the heel. There you see coming up through turn 9. This is where we saw that 2-wide action before, which was especially brave. I don't know about you, Joe, but I have enough trouble going there, just going through that corner by myself, let alone 2 wide.
No, absolutely. I'm kind of impressed with the way that they did handle those first couple laps. So with 40 cars on track, I would have expected a little more drama, but very pleased to be disappointed on that one. As they come across once again to start lap 3. As hard as they are running, doesn't seem like they're trying to swap positions around. So maybe this is everybody just trying to run as fast of a pace as possible without risking going side by side.
Yeah, I certainly think a lot of these guys don't want to take any unnecessary added risk of trying to go multiple wide, but here comes Greg Seitz, who got to move for the lead.
Eat my own words, and Seitz is going to take that top spot away from David Holland. Holland maybe looking for the over-under. Yeah, he tries to poke his nose in down into the carousel. Doesn't stick. And this little Congo line is actually looking much feistier than we initially anticipated. He is going to give it another try down into the chute. He's given space by Seitz, but as it switches back down into the toe, Seitz is going to have the advantage, and it looks like he's going to be able to park it at the apex, put him back up in the lead.
It was a savvy move there from Greg Seitz, just moving that car around, cutting off the over-under, but Holland having nothing of it. He's going to try to go around the outside here of turn 8 down into the heel. Ooh. Not going to do... Came very close to his teammate there, Herbino.
Yeah, they almost touched. There did Seitz and Holland coming into the first corner, or into the heel, rather. So they're giving each other just enough space. This is Raymond Day just behind them. Might become a 7-car group. Certainly working hard to try and run them down. Look at them weave across the front stretch, trying to do whatever they can to break a little bit of slipstream to help them out. But this is where that draft will really kick in. Once again, up through the S's.
Yep, here is where it's all going to be to play for. Greg Seitz, I think, able to build himself just enough of breathing room that I don't think he'll be under massive pressure. But as I say that, Holland gets a great tow out of the S's. He darts to what will be the outside of the bus stop, able to get in front. Greg lets him go, not wanting to compromise his own entry into the corner.
Well, so much for racing calmly. It's all kicking off now. Last time, Holland fought back on Seitz coming down into this next corner. Will Seitz return the favor? No, he's going to sit in line. Maybe saving it for something a little bit more confident. By the way, for those interested in the AM race, Joey Haynes still leading that in 14th. Oh, it's close, though. Roofs is attacking him down into the chute.
Yeah, trying to take that more speed line around the outside there, the momentum line. Here comes Roofs again, looking to the inside, going into the toe. And Joe, you talked about how sometimes this track drives a little bit like an oval almost. And it's very true. There's a lot of corners that you can normally take that momentum line, the high side line, and be able to get the pass down. Haynes tries to make a move into 8. Not going to go there, though.
Roofs wants to take that AM lead away, and this is mostly AM drivers here. Roofs, Oring, Galas, Duhamel, and Peterson. You only get one mixed in there, and Sebastian Merrier. I think he maybe was involved in some of the early incidents. Just got a fastest lap there for David Holland as he goes purple across the top of the screen. Let's see if Roofs is going to try something up the hill.
Well, he should be close enough if he gets the good line here through the 90. Be able to. Goes in very close up to the back there of Joey Haynes. So he's going to be coming in flat out. They come up through the S's. It's now down all to the draft.
There was no change with our lead pack this time. So they've cooled out a little bit. Here we go. Big run coming up the outside as Haynes goes defensive. He might be ahead by the time they hit the brakes, and he is. So give that AM lead to Aaron Roofs.
Very heads up there from Joey Haynes, not wanting to fight too much about it. You're seeing a lot of the very savvy drivers do that, just sort of go, you know what, okay, I'm not going to fight you too hard. I want to live to fight another day going into the inner loop. So kudos there for Joey. Now it's just going to be a matter of he's got to stick up to the back of Aaron Roofs and make sure he doesn't lose any of that draft.
Once again, looking at Holland ahead of Seitz. Not many changes here. Recent corners amongst this 6. They still have their 7th holder on, just barely. Day's back by about 1.6 seconds, so probably just outside of that slipstream range.
Yeah, I'd expect that draft efficacy to be about 1.3. Ooh, Greg Seitz almost looking like he was going to take a look to the outside. Gets a very good run there through the final corner. He's going to be very, very close up the back of David Holland here. I think he may be able to have a little bit of a run if he keeps this together through the 90.
Went a little wide down at the apex, and it looks like he's going to pay for that because already the orange and chrome car of Greg Seitz is gathering him up. Is he going to be a little too early, though? He wants to get a run and be able to really shoot by on the backstretch, and it doesn't look like he quite has it.
No, it looks like he hits that big wall of air right there, and that's going to stop him. But Herbino now looking a little bit racy. Although it is to be said, Seitz gets a good run through the inner loop itself.
Backing out, Greg Seitz. Maybe not confident through the carousel. What about into the chute? No, he's going to stay on the racing line. Holland staying slightly defensive. Behind them, a battle between Watts and Daly. The 06 had a go at the 14. Didn't stick, but maybe he's getting sick of running at the tail of the train.
Yeah, and I can't say I necessarily blame him trying to do anything to get going by there. The one thing he will be able to do at the back of the train there is save a lot of fuel. Is up ahead of him. That was Watts having a little look at Wagner coming down through the heel. A little bit of an aggressive move, but nothing really comes from it.
And as it's become in many of the races lately, this is basically a Delta Sport party. They've got one Rust Racing driver in there, and then they've got Byron Daly. I actually have to check to see what team that Byron races for. That is NinjaTrader is the one that the 06 is running and flying the banner of. Here we go again. Who decides now is the time to move here on only lap 7 out of 27?
Well, here they come up through the S's. Seitz again looks like he has a good run, but he's got to watch out because Herbino is very close behind him as well. Seitz moves to the outside, try to carry a little bit momentum as much as he can. Whoa! Almost contact between him and Holland. Dave did not like Seitz going by like that. Ooh, onto the grass and still keeps it under him as Greg Seitz.
Oh, and that was a rough run through the inner loop by Herbino, or no, by Holland rather. Herbino's going to be able to get by because of that, and almost like synchronized swimming. They all slot back into line quite easily. Back there, that's Daly still liking that outside line through the chute. A quick mention, hard charger, I think, right now. Got to give it to Takeshi Kita, who qualified in 25th, is up 13 positions and into 12th.
Yeah, doing a very, very good job as Takeshi, and not exactly something that is foreign to us. Takeshi, always one of those guys, doesn't seem to have the best qualifying, but his racecraft, just spectacular.
But he's kind of on his lonesome, just running his own race. I'm sure he'll appreciate that at this stage, especially with how easy it is usually to follow faster cars. He doesn't want anybody on his tail right now. We do have that battle behind him that we were watching earlier with Roofs and Haynes. Well, Roofs is actually running away with it. Haynes has been dropped by close to 2 seconds.
Yeah, really very much doing a good job of pulling away from it. And Haynes now looking like he's almost under assault from Joey Galaz here, or from Hugo Galaz rather, as that driver of those machines. But Joe, we got to jump back up to the front because we've almost got 3 wide for the lead.
Yeah, I wondered if we'd see Holland go for it, but he decided not to. Still 2 wide down into the inner loop. Herbino is now our new leader. Seitz into second, and David Holland stays in P3. Herbino feels like he wants some of that clean air. Oh, did we lose Julio Palacio? I think he had a spin coming out of the inner loop, and I think it's going to be a pretty big hit, unfortunately.
So here he comes out of the inner loop. Oh, catches a little bit of the grass and right into that tire barrier. That is going to end his day. We jump on an onboard here.
Oh, well, it was going wrong early. I didn't notice that before, that he essentially clipped the second apex with a lot of grass, and then he never regained control fully, and the car wound up in the tires. The tires on Christoph Herbino, though, getting a lot more fresh air blowing over them as he comes up to complete lap 8 now. Not expecting anybody to really come in. This is going to be a late pit stop, most likely, for just about all of these drivers. Did they ever get caught by Raymond Day? Almost. Raymond's down to 0.8 of a second behind them.
Yeah, certainly. Near, you can see him. He's doing a really good job of just keeping these guys wound on in as that front pack starts to separate out ever so slightly. Day just trying to reel in the best he can, and he's doing a spectacular job at it.
Oh, we're going to go 3 wide this time for sure, and shooting down to the inside. David Holland is going to take the lead, staying side by side through the inner loop. Seitz gave a valiant effort, but Herbino is going to play wingman for his teammate, allowing the 18 to take the lead away. Can we get a replay of that? That was some bravery from David to trust that he had enough pace to be clear.
And so there you can see that absolutely mega run down the inside, pulls it out. And yeah, as you said, Joe, just trust between those top 3. But look what that allowed it to do. I said that there was a little bit of a gap forming. Well, Connor Wagner has pulled that right back up, and it is now a 7-car train, as I would say Day has completely caught up to the back.
Oh, I'm sure he's loving that. If anybody has touch with this front group, they've got a shot at winning this race realistically. The slipstream is just that powerful. We've already seen it can certainly give drivers a relatively easy pass if they wait and pounce at the right time. All of them slinging off that final turn and down towards the 90 once more. Is anybody going to try and pull the same thing all over again, or is this going to stay a little bit more patient now? The Rust Racing car gets pushed back to 3rd. Is he content, or does he want to try and get up to the front for a few more laps? Doesn't look like he is towing them in. In fact, he might get overtaken by another Delta Sport driver. Connor Wagner is trying to go through. I thought he'd be through. He sends it deep onto the brakes. He's going to be able to get by. That causes a bit of a gap up to the top 2 now. That's not good for the likes of Seitz.
No, it's not. If these guys are able to run away, that is not going to help Greg. The worst thing that can happen is allowing these Delta Sport guys to start playing leapfrog with each other. And this was the thing we were talking about at the beginning. If 2 or 3 of these guys are able to get themselves in front of Greg, they can make those cars very, very wide and deliberately prevent him from moving anywhere forward.
Another interesting note about this group now, we were talking about Day catching up to them. He's actually a teammate to Byron Daly. So that's 2 drivers that can work together, much like we've been seeing from the Delta Sport sister teams there. So that's certainly going to help those 2 coming from the back, maybe try and pit together to keep the slipstream going and have that little extra pace when they do come in. This front group also still running impressively fast because it's now 4 seconds ahead of Alex Fournier, who runs 8th, the next one back. There you see him popping out of the final corner.
Yep, indeed. Just getting a little bump out. But here we're going to go back up to that lead group. Herbino and Holland, what are they going to be able to do? Is Herbino going to try to have a run here? As you said, last week was the first time he was really able to get a win over Dave Holland. I think he's got a taste of that top step podium champagne, and he wants more of it. Ooh, but he's backing off a little bit. Christoph Herbino maybe in fuel saving mode, trying to eke out an extra couple of laps on a fuel stint.
So that time, now that it's both those 2 up front, we're seeing a little less action. By the way, that AM race has seen Joey Haynes fall off the podium. Galaz is in second now, and Peterson has moved into third just recently. In fact, that fight is actually quite tight. If we want to go back to that 16th, 17th, Haynes is going to lose another spot. That is Duhamel, who runs it a little too hot into the corner. Joey's going to try and fight back around the outside, but there's not enough grip on the high side of the carousel.
No, there's not. And Donald Olson there thought like he was going to have a look, and he's maybe going to try to have another look going into the chute. Nothing doing, though. Not going to happen there. Joey Haynes just not having the best run here, but he's going to have to try to keep everything together and not let any of that get to him.
What's impressive in this is we saw Aaron Roos pass Haynes, but Roos has scampered away by the tune of probably about a good 5 or 6 seconds now. You can't even see him in any of the shots. He's so far ahead. So Haynes may have good qualifying pace, but he doesn't seem to have the race pace as he dips 2 wheels on the grass in out of the heel of the boot.
Yeah, very, very lucky not to get completely sideways, dipping your toes out onto the grass like that. It'll really come back to bite you. But here they come through that final quarter. Let's see what these AM class leaders have to do here as they get ready to take that long run up towards the inner loop.
Don't need to go to it, but we had an easy swap around between Herbino and Holland, so Christoph now leads. Seitz and Wagner did pretty much the same behind them. Okay, who is feeling hot right now? Olsen at the front of this group. That's Haynes in the blue car. The other white one, third in line, is Oring, with the next blue one belonging to Horvath. Poking his nose down to the inside. Joey Haynes fancies his chances. We're looking at 3 wide. Oh, it goes wrong. And 2 of them are off into the grass. More cars wrecking behind them in avoidance. That was Gunderson and Norris.
Oh, and I gotta say, Joe, that was bound to happen. It is so tricky to go 3 wide through there. But we jump to check out this replay again.
This just seems like an ultimately ill-advised move. And a couple other cars were the worst victims of it. But Joey Haynes was able to keep going. He's down in 20th as he had a cut course penalty. We once again jump back to our leaders. And it is right now Herbino, Holland, Seitz, Wagner, Watts, Day, and Daly, your top 7. But it's splitting up this group, essentially becoming the top 3 and then the back 4.
Yeah, exactly. We keep an eye here. This is that back four. Watts having a good little run here on Connor Wagner. Watts is going to poke his nose to the inside, try to get something by. I have to imagine that Wagner's going to let him go, and indeed he does. But that's a good run behind from Raymond Day as well. Looks like he's got a little bit of room to run here.
But he hasn't quite done anything yet, except for take that 6 from Daly. I do think those two are probably content. In fact, with Daly riding behind that group for a decent amount of time, I wonder if Byron has saved the most fuel of any of them thus far and is going to have a extremely short pit stop once we hit that window. I think we are within it currently, but again, not expecting many to go for an early strategy.
Yeah, I think the way to go here is going to be definitely to hold out as long as possible. Taking that early stop is really going to leave you open to a world of potential pitfalls.
Yeah, we've seen that in some other series recently. Even in the PRL, where drivers pitting early just cost themselves opportunities, unfortunately. Sometimes track position can really be a big determination into who finishes where off of the 90. And I think we can officially call this 2 groups instead of 1 now. They have dropped back by about 2 seconds, this one we've been following. And they're showing no signs of catching back up. The 2 Delta Sport cars are going to swap around. Watts lets go to Wagner, who steps into 4th.
Yeah, and still a pretty decent ways back. We've got a few pitters, though. Looks like Peterson and Duhamel deciding to come in early.
This doesn't shock me too much. These are drivers a little farther down the order, so they're going to try an alternate strategy as they don't have to worry about as much lap traffic. They should be released out into mostly clean air. Peterson comes out first ahead of Duhamel.
Yeah, so there comes Haynes back out. Looks like he is able to get back under his own speed.
He was very upset over the radio, talking about that 3 wide situation. Didn't seem terribly happy about it. So Peterson does come out in, yes, a whole bunch of clear air, and 21st. We'll see if that pays off for him as we turn our attention to the leaders. The top 3, Herbino leads Holland, leads Seitz. Seitz elects to come in. Interesting.
Now, I would not have expected that at all, Joe. And this is going to run into the big concern. If he drops back in the wrong position, he may lose some draft buddies and lose some valuable time per lap by not having cars ahead of him to tow him along.
So for our other 2 drivers that pitted recently, it was 30 seconds cone to cone, but that doesn't account for the entire loss as our leaders, Holland and Herbino, once again will trade around. Seitz is out in about 10th place, maybe 9th. No, 10th place, it looks like. And he gets out in front of the nearest traffic, Brett Accord. Looks like he is in clean air. Maybe Greg Seitz timed this one just right.
Well, we will have to see. It'll certainly help him when he's coming through the boot section of the course, but I've got to think that draft will help him out a little bit here and there. So fingers crossed that will work out well.
Leaders are hitting some of their own lap traffic. Donald Olson, who is already a lap down, letting the second group by. There you see him ducked down to the inside, coming towards the corner, just letting him go. He's got nobody to fight, so he's going to try and be as polite as possible. So here's the question. David and Christoph, do they respond or do they continue to try and run their own race?
My gut's going to be to say continue to try to run their own race here. I think at this point they may want to see what lap times are out of sights, but
they're coming in.
They're both coming in.
Wonder if we just got a small pit window today since there's so... Oh, my goodness! And Owen Watts got overtaken by Connor Wagner, who had timed the pit entry much better than his teammate. Let's take a look at this. He just found enough space to go through. He's very lucky that his teammate didn't suddenly jerk the wheel.
Yeah, very much so. Just whoop, right on through. That is called knowing the limits of your car.
So that probably is going to net him a position as they come out. And actually, it gained him a lot of time. Or did Herbino go long? Herbino is not looking great, and Greg Seitz is in front of him. But David Holland, a second quicker in the pits than all those around him. He's managed to save fuel that, or he's put himself under the gun. Either the way, he is going to get track position over all others.
Yeah, he is. We're going to take a look at the comparison on that pit stop. Looks like that Dave Holland was stationary in the box a full second faster, or a full second less, rather, than Seitz. So, yeah, Joe, you are 100% right. Either he knows something on this fuel strategy that we don't, or he's going to be in a world of hurt near the end of the race.
Back to the train that is chasing him. Seitz leading it, and Herbino getting jumped mysteriously. Not sure how he lost quite as much as he did. Wagner now with him, and Owen Watts as well. Raymond Day lost out, and poor Byron Daly. I said he should be the one that should have saved the most fuel, but he had, well, not a terribly long stop. So what cost Byron Daly as much as he did? Maybe he just didn't maximize the pit entry or exit or something, but strange going-ons in our pit sequence for the leaders.
Yeah, I don't really have the answer to that there for Daly. Not entirely sure, but it is a heartbreak nonetheless. But we continue to keep our eyes focused here on these leaders as they're coming down the long front straightaway now. Let's see. I've got to think that Christoph Herbino is going to want to take a piece out of Greg Seitz here if he gets the chance. But it may be a little bit closer in the back there between Wagner and Watts.
Yeah, it'll depend on how quick he thinks Greg Seitz is. If he feels like Greg can chase down his teammates, he might let him lead, but if he feels like he can go faster, a little bit of a defensive move, but yet. So I think Christoph feels at least comfortable enough. He's got going to be 10 laps to go next time across the line, so he does have a little bit of time, just a little less than a third of the race remaining.
Yeah, so there they all go, lining this up, down and through the chute. That gap up to Dave Holland, though, it sits at about 1.2 seconds right now. So able to take a little bit out of it was Greg Seitz, but he's going to have to do a lot more hustling if he wants to be on the top step of this podium.
Let's give a shout out to our AM leader once again while we don't have much action here. Hugo Galaz started in 24th. He has gone up 11 positions to get himself into the lead, and 13th overall, has about a 2-second lead over Aaron Roofs behind him. So credit to the number 500. See if he can bring this one home.
Galaz just running a very solid race here. We obviously saw that pass he was able to make earlier on. Just pulling away here and able to get going. Like you said, pretty decent enough gap between him and Aaron Roots. He is on a track to take the AM class win here.
Okay, interesting note for you. I went to check the lap times as they crossed, and Seitz ran a 41.8. Holland, a 41.9. 1/10 quicker. That could get him within the slipstream in a couple laps and allow him to challenge Holland.
It very well could. The only problem is going to be is if anybody from behind him starts to challenge him a little bit. Maybe one of the guys of Herbino or Wagner, if they can get a move on and try to get a little bit of defensive driving out of Greg Seitz, and that'll slow him down. But looks like that gap's grown here by about 1/10 of a second coming through the chute this time by.
That time through, Herbino did not challenge him into the inner loop and continues to just ride. But Christoph, remember, he has a dog in this fight when talking about the championship. He wants to beat Holland, so he'll want to try and catch up to him. It's not just necessarily team tactics here. And Seitz is not in the championship whatsoever. He is just there for the victory. So different motivations, but both definitely wanting the lead.
Oh, no, very true. I mean, team tactics only go so far in this sport. So we'll have to see how this continues to play out. Seitz just continuing to try to stalk down on Holland. We're going to jump on board Greg here as he comes out of that final corner.
Yeah, talk to us about what it's like running an open wheeler around this magnificent Watkins Glen course here, DJ.
Well, the first thing you got to do is try to figure out your line going through the 90 there. You want to bring that car as wide as possible to carry as much momentum to maximize up the S's and all the way through here. Don't take too much curb as you come up through there, as it can unsettle the car. Keep off of that curb on the right, and then slowly let the car drift out to the left and make sure that you line yourself up. Get yourself in the headspace, ready to go. I would not take that much grass, but it's working for Greg. Get onto the binders and bring it back around through the inner loop. Now into the outer loop. You want to keep it relatively narrow all the way throughout, and then once you get to the end, let the speed carry you out around the corner. Now sight it up. This is a very tricky corner. There's no obvious braking zones. You just have to feel it. Braking markers, rather. Now you bring it in through the chute and line it up back down the hill into the toe. This is a banked corner, so you're able to carry a little bit more speed than you think you can. You can either take speed in at the entrance or at the exit. It makes it great for overtaking. Now you're back up again. Crest over the hill. Start to look out for those braking boards on the left-hand side of the road. There, hit it just after the 100-meter board and bring it down. Careful not to get onto the throttle too early, otherwise you'll get a little bit of oversteer, or understeer rather, as you come up through here. Now this turn 9 is so tricky. You have to find the apex absolutely perfectly because of the way the track crests on you. If you get on too early, you will spin it out. Barely lift it all there through the penultimate corner, and then onto this final corner. Bring it out nice and wide, full throttle at the apex, and bring it on as fast as you can to get back onto the main straight.
Lap traffic in front of Holland will give him a little bit of a tow, but may compromise his line. That time of 41.7 from David, whereas Seitz hit a 41.6, another 10th down. Last lap as well. Before that, they were on the same lap time to just about the nearest 100th between them. So this has been extremely competitive, and well, this actually might have worked out better for Greg because he pulls on Andy Spicer all the way down the backstretch, and it gives him a buffer between himself and Herbino. Look at that.
I don't think that could have worked out any better for Greg Seitz. Herbino, though, quickly does dispatch with Spicer and is able to keep that gap back in. Greg able to take about 1/10 of a second out of Holland on that last lap, so he's able to pull him in ever so slightly.
Focusing so much on these top four, we can't forget that Wagner, Watts, and Day, just Wagner and Watts, it looks like, are in there. They've let go of Day now. He's dropped back to his teammate, been working together with him. Going to be 7 to go at the line. And still, it is a question mark as to who can come away with this. This looks just mildly closer between Seitz and Holland, but the stopwatch will tell the tale once they cross the timing line.
Indeed it will. As I said, it was down to about 1.1 now as they cross over the line. It's a couple of hundredths slower than that, so Seitz trying to reel it in. Again, about 0.08 of a second faster on that last lap was Greg Seitz, so he's starting to reel him in the best he can.
This might just barely be enough in the end. Looks like even though he got separated temporarily, Herbino going to be able to use the slipstream to his advantage as well and pull back up to Greg here along the backstretch. So he regains that lost time from the lap traffic. And behind them, just noticed timing and scoring shuffling around. Daly and Day are also kind of using the leapfrog method to try and catch the leaders. I don't think it is quite working, though. They've got a whopping 5.5 seconds after that pit stop up to Owen Watts.
Indeed they do, but they should not be downtrodden about that. They have driven a very, very good race here, the both of them, and this is going to be a solid points haul for the team.
I wonder if this time up the backstretch, as long as he gets a decent exit, if Greg will actually get a little bit of pull.
Well, he's got it down to 1 second flat, just dipping under that now as they make their way through the penultimate corner. Joe, I think he's going to have a little bit of that pull. Greg Seitz doing everything he needs to do here. Now, looking up the road, Matthew Gunderson Gunderson's in the pits, rather. But Bear is about 3 seconds ahead of David Holland, and Olsen about 4 seconds up from him as well, so that could come into it. But Seitz here comes up. Let's keep an eye on that rev counter. That'll be a great way to tell if he's got enough to definitely be pulling in.
Odd note, that last lap was significantly worse for both Holland and Seitz, but Greg was still quicker by 1/10 of a second. Coming into the inner loop. Yeah, not sure that he gained a lot. Oh yeah, okay, 2/10 from the beginning of the start, the back straightaway down into the inner loop. So Greg is feeling it now.
Yeah, he certainly is. Now, Bear right up the road. You can see him on your screen. This could be crucial for Holland, depending on how he's able to get by him and when he's able to make the move.
Up the hill towards the heel of the boot. 0.6 of a second between them. And don't forget, Herbino is able to pull behind him as well. So this is going to put 3 drivers in contention for the victory. Bear, nicely done. Just pulls out of the way completely to try and avoid those. Oh, but he is a little bit in the way of those behind him. You can see having to duck to the inside. Connor Wagner just kind of catches him in an unfortunate space there through that narrow turn 9. Onto the main straight. And this time through, David Holland with a 41.8, Seitz with a 41.5. Here we go.
And he has got a very, very good run here, but he's also got to be checking in his rearview mirrors because Herbino was just about matched for him and was very, very close on that last lap. Gap to the leader from Seitz is about 0.7 of a second, so full draft effectiveness. Here he comes. I don't know if he's going to get the move done here on this lap, but I would imagine in the next 2, he is going to be in a prime pouncing position.
If David does not have racing gloves on in that rig, you have to imagine he's chewing those fingernails now. Greg Seitz is on the hunt, and he wants to try and take this win. It's been a bit since we've seen that 74 on the top step of the podium, and this will be an emotional victory for him if he can manage this. And only the second race on returning. Christoph Herbino and David Holland sandwiching him right now on either side. This is Donald Olsen in front of them. They've lapped him once before. Looks like that was during the pit stops, so they're going to have to do it again now that they have cycled back around. Ooh, he's way off the apex. He's going to hold up. Yes, there we go. Great job there to the 413.
Yeah, very good. And he was on the radio letting everybody know what was going to happen. So that conversation that these drivers had in the interim between last week's race and this one, very clearly coming to fruition there. Gap at about 0.6 of a second from Seitz to Holland. Let's see what he can do here as they pull out onto the main straightaway, able to take about 0.5 out of it.
So not as much as I thought it was going to be. A 41.6 for Holland. Seitz with a 41.4. 2 more tenths for Greg Seitz at the line. Now he is really within that pocket of air. Look as we ride on his shoulder, getting ever closer to David Holland. Holland having taken the most wins so far this season with 3. DeTulio on 2, but he's not here today, and only 1 for his teammate Herbino back in 3rd. Gained maybe about 1/10 along the back stretch. 4 laps to go, 3.5 really, as the sun continues to set here in New York.
absolutely brilliant defensive driving there from Greg Seitz as well. Christoph Herbeno had a very good run on him, and he was just able to move the car without letting up to cover off any lines that Herbeno may be taking, and that allowed for him to be able to keep going. But look how close behind Herbeno is. This is going to get really, really dicey.
And now I'm guessing is about the time that Herbeno says, all right, we've caught him. I'm going to give up a little bit to try and get that second place away, because he could not only help his teammate if he doesn't catch him by putting some distance between Greg and David, but if they don't lose track, then of course this gives Christoph a chance to himself maybe try and challenge for the victory. 3 to go as they come out of the final corner and down towards the timing line.
All right, here they go into the 90. 0.3 of a second between Holland and Seitz. 0.3 of a second between Seitz and Herbeno.
I'm willing to bet we're going to see Christoph actually have an attempt. Let's see. As they crest the hill around the final right-hander of the S's. Slipstream helping Seitz too, and that might be pulling him away from Herbeno at the same time. Indeed, they stay in position, but now within a single car length, Greg Seitz has arrived at the gearbox of David Holland.
Yeah, and so now it's just about trying to find that opportunity. I think Greg is going to pounce at anything he gets. He's got to be careful, though, watching them through that outer loop. Greg has a little bit more of a narrow line through the outer loop than Holland does, and he wants to be careful not to try to poke his nose in too far and have to lift off and cost himself valuable tenths that could cost that second place position and give it over to Herbeno.
They have put themselves out of reach of those behind them, 4 seconds back to Owen Watts in fourth. Our podium drivers right now have this track to themselves, except for maybe Sean Duhamel up in front of them. Is this going to play a part?
It very well could. If Holland catches him at the right time, it could help him a lot coming up through the S's and give him a little bit of draft, maybe do exactly what Seitz has been able to do to Herbeno and use that extra car to get a little bit more.
All of them weaved down to the inside to get a little toe off of Duhamel, but he was definitely checking up as much as possible to make sure he was not in the way of this fight. We're going to watch from Herbeno's perspective. Who attacks? Who defends? Where do they place the car in this chess game? With a lap and a half left on the docket. A little bit of a defensive move this time from Holland, holding the middle. Now coming back to the racing line. Seitz following him all the way up. Nobody, though, is going to attack. Oh, really strong. Almost getting into the back, into the gearbox of David Holland. Seitz looks like he's got the pace, but can he find a way past?
Yeah, that's the real question here. I also have to think in the back of my mind that there may be a little bit of hesitancy on this penultimate lap, that drivers don't want to get ahead because they know they will be sitting ducks in the draft. So I think from here on out, and they may prove me wrong here in a corner, but I think everybody's going to wait until we get onto that massive, massive draft fest through the S's, and that's when we see the moves all happening.
I think you might be right. So coming around and onto the Cup course, Holland still holds the lead. Does he actually want to be there? He couldn't run a quicker pace than those behind him. Seitz did this without any tow, except from Holland late in the run. He pushed like hell and got himself within striking distance. As the white flag is prepared for our leaders, it's a poor exit from Greg Seitz. Herbeno saw it and he pounced immediately. He's going to join his teammate.
Indeed, he's all the way up in front. I think Seitz let him go there ever so slightly, hoping to take full advantage of the double draft here. Now, it's all on Christoph Herbeno. Is he going to be able to make a move on Dave Holland, or is it going to be Seitz that tries to fight back on Herbeno? I think that may be the latter, as, yep, here comes Seitz trying to make a move around the outside.
Oh, but he stalled out in the open spot. Now, whoa, trying to get to the inside, and they're going to come together. Both of them collide. Are they able to get the cars going, though? A bit of damage, I have to imagine, as they climbed over one another. Herbino stationary, but Seitz is rolling, and Wagner is going to be able to take advantage with a second. Watson to third.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. I can't believe that they took each other out, but we focused back on the man who has had the pace of the field this entire day, David Holland, untouched and continuing on in the lead to take the checkered flag.
Herbino takes a DNF. He couldn't get the car rolling, and that might be his championship hopes up in smoke. But David Holland is looking at win number 4. He put himself in the lead. They may have ran him down, but they could not phase this man. David Holland has managed to race his way to the top of this championship, take multiple victories, and is going to add to that tally in New York in fantastic style. Victory for David Holland at Watkins Glen.
Absolutely cool under pressure. A great run for David. And Connor Wagner able to come in behind and Owen Watts to take out that podium. Here are the two teammates now, Byron Daly and Raymond Day, taking 4th and 5th.
Oh, Greg Seitz is going to try and limp this one home. I'm not sure. Oh, he's very damaged. You can see him way off the pace. And that's Bear who's a lap down. He's not looking for position. That's why he's slowing up. Seitz collects 8th place after that.
Oh, that's got to be so frustrating for Seitz, but we're going to go back and check out a replay here.
Hugo Galaz took our AM win as well, by the way, in 12th. Let's take a look at what happened into the inner loop. This is hard to call for Seitz, because I don't blame him for trying to take the inside away.
Yeah, you see him here. We talked about this. He moved to the outside trying to take advantage, but it's very hard to get around the outside there, just that little bit of a corner. All right, so here it's Herbino. Oh.
There looked like there might have been a car's width to the inside. But you have to know that it's always going to be a risk trying to take a gap that small, especially in sim racing where netcode is the ever-present threat. Unfortunately, it bit both of them. And for Herbino, it could have just scuppered his championship hopes. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. It is a popular track that often puts on thrillers, and today it did not disappoint because for the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series, David Holland took the win, and I didn't think that he'd be able to hold on to it, honestly, the way he got run down, but he kept cool and held off those who looked faster. Connor Wagner gets a surprise second after starting from sixth and holding on, drifting back a little bit after the pit stops, but a few others having some problems gifts him that P2. Owen Watts, similar situation in third. Byron Daly gets himself a P4, backing up that great qualifying we saw from him. Raymond Day was fifth with Alex Fournier in P6. And it's Frank Nguyen, a quiet race from him to go from 11th to 7th. We didn't get to cover him enough for what was a great finish for him. Greg Seitz, unfortunately, the last lap accident sent him to 8th. Adam Wright was 9th, and Sebastian Merrier, who failed to get a qualifying time in, went from 37th to 10th.
Coming home in 11th, doing another textbook Takeshi Kita drive was Takeshi Kita, up 14 positions from his starting position. Hugo Golaz was able to come home in 12th as your AM winner, followed by Aaron Roofs and Dave Peterson rounding out your AM podium. Behind them, it was Nick Horvath and Ethan Lampy coming home in 16th. Tyler Scarali was 17th, followed by Lucio Vargas and Ethan Oring, and Neil Alexander rounds out your top 20.
21st went to Nick Colander, with Joey Haynes going from pole in the AM class down towards the latter part of the top 10, sadly. But he was the last one on the lead lap as he did recover after his accident. Christoph Herbino, shockingly, did not finish today, and was the first one lap down 23rd. Donald Olson was 24th, and Andy Spicer was 25th. Then you get to David Hebert in 26th, and James Doherty in 27th. You get to drivers with serious issues with Duhamel, Kevin Norris, and Mark McDonald in 30th. From there on down, we get to those who had accidents and DNFs, unfortunately. But it does take us to our winner today, David Holland, who definitely surprised us a little bit. David, you had a lightning quick pit stop that looked fantastic, but then you started getting reeled in. Did that make you at all nervous?
Yeah, hey guys. No, to be honest with you, I kind of expected it. The setup that I ended up going with, I knew it didn't have, the outright pace of some of our other setups. But it raced a lot better, which is important here. It's really tough to pass with all these sweeping turns here at Watkins Glen. So, I picked a setup that I figured they'd probably reel me in with, but if they got close, I'd probably be able to keep it out in front, or at least easily make the passes if necessary.
Interesting. Well, we saw some exciting moves along the way. You went 3 wide at one point to take the lead, shooting past both of them. Did you know that slingshot was going to give you enough time to get clear? Was that just kind of lucky?
It actually happened once before, so I was able to kind of size it up, and just the speed difference with how low a downforce I was running. Yeah, I mean, it was close. Don't get me wrong, but luckily everyone played pretty nice. Christoph gave me enough room on the bottom like he did the previous time. So I felt pretty confident about it, but yeah, it was definitely fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. This gives you your 4th victory of the season, but sadly your teammate had a DNF at the very end. I guess, if anything, the only disappointment in that is that you two will not get max points on the team's championship from that incident.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything. I need to go back and take a look at it. I mean, it's definitely disappointing there on the last lap. But we were all elbows out racing, really hard racing. For the most part, I know we always try to keep it respectful up there. It's a shame he wasn't able to bring it home after such a great race. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles in some days of racing. Congratulations, David. Who helped make this victory possible?
As always, got to thank the team, Delta Sports, and all the team sponsors. Move Up, Freedom USA, Race Factory, Unit 5 for Kids, Get Stuck, Durban, Texas, Extreme Sim Racing, and also shout out to Connor and Owen for a great second and third as well. Thanks, guys.
And that was our winner, David Holland. And we are going to talk to one of those second place finishers. Connor Wagner is with DJ Clark.
Well, Connor, I got to be very honest, a little bit of a surprise talking to you, but looks like Slow and Steady wins the race here and gets you up into second place. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels good. Of course, I'd rather do it on merit, what happened with Greg and Christoph was a shame. It looked like a pretty big racing incident. I haven't fully looked at it, but it worked out for me, and I just didn't have the pace to hang with them today, unfortunately. But second is not bad when you're a little bit off the pace.
Well, we just heard David talking a little bit about setup and all of that. Just curious how you were geared a little bit more than if you think that played into it, or if it was just a finesse thing, or what.
I'm not 100% sure. I also think it just has to do with David and Christoph and Greg. They're just really, really good drivers. And, some tracks I seem to be able to compete with them. And then other tracks I'm missing a tenth or so. And I think this is just one of those times where I was just missing a little bit. And I probably didn't put in the practice to be up there with them. But I think we were all pretty much on very similar setups, like at least downforce wise and everything. So I really don't have any good excuses or race car driver excuses besides myself.
We'll have to work on that for you. But we head from sort of the American track known best for its draft trains to what I would say the European track, potentially known as best for its draft trains in Spa in 2 weeks' time. Do you think that's one you're going to be able to take the challenge to everybody, or how do you see that going?
We'll see. I've done some practice there this week, just kind of getting the setup ready for next week, and I'm feeling pretty good. But I don't have anybody really to compare with at the moment. But I'm excited. The racing should be really good, and it's just one of the best tracks in the world. So it's going to be a really fun time.
Well, I know we are certainly looking forward to it up here in the booth. Connor, anybody you'd like to thank for this second place here today?
Yeah, so always got to start with my wife for giving me the time to come and do this. And then, of course, Delta Sport and their sponsors. So Move Up Transportation, Free in USA, Race Factory, Unified for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing.
Well, thank you again, Connor, and congratulations. That was Connor Wagner, your second place finisher here today. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Owen Watts, your third place finisher out here today at Watkins Glen.
Yep, and Owen, you weren't able to hold on to that lead trio after the pit stops. Were you a bit surprised that there was that big of a gap once the strategy cycled through?
No, definitely not surprised. I think me and Connor both knew the gamble we were taking, not taking tires. I ended up having a really bad pit entry, which I think costed a lot of time there. But we were able to hang with them for a little while, and then once their fresh tires came in, we definitely saw the different strategies come into play.
Yeah, we saw the moment between you and Connor on that pit entry. It certainly gave us a bit of a scare. But this one nets you another podium, which will certainly help you in your fight with Mark McDonald, rather, who had another poor day today. Do you think the top three is doable since we've been missing DeTulio this round?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking. Definitely going to be studying the points for that. I've already used my drop round and unfortunately DNF'd one race, so that's definitely going to hurt me. But rumor has it DeTulio will be back again next week, so hopefully we'll bring back some good racing. But yeah, I'm definitely looking to get into the podium for points. That'd be nice.
I'm sure that'll be a point of pride for you. Upcoming next week at Spa, it's another track similar to this with all the slipstreaming. Did you learn anything today that you feel like you can take forward to there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, this is basically the European Watkins Glen. So I think the whole team learned a lot today about how that race is going to play out for the most part. And I think I learned my lesson on taking the higher downforce setup. It didn't race as well and ended up costing me in the long run, but pulled it together. So learned my lesson there.
I love to see the learning and growing that drivers do just from the smallest of things. Owen, is there anybody you want to thank for this podium?
Yeah, definitely my parents get me here, and then the team sponsors Move Up, Freem USA, Race Factory, Unified 4Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme Sim Racing. Thank you guys.
That was Owen Watts, P3 on the track today. And we are going to close out with a big thank you to our sponsors, of course, starting with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. Also, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. As well as Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. We've got our outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We'll keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because the next race at Spa should be pretty similar to this. And if that's the case, it's going to be a fun one. It'll be Thursday, May 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.